Hello everyone. This week I received another question about love, specifically having to do with love and freedom. And I'm actually going to read the question before I answer it, because I think the question was beautifully written, and it's a question and a commentary that so many of us struggle through as we're living in romantic relationships. So let me read the question a little bit more so we can get into it. So the viewer said, if I love someone without conditions, how can I get over jealousy? How can I actually set my partner for life free if I want her for myself? I cannot understand how you can love and set free at the same time. So I love that, and I'm going to answer this question, how can you love and set free at the same time? I'm going to go over three specific parts of this question in order for us to kind of pick the answer, feel what's right for us and what's not. So the first part of the question, I wanted to pick apart two things that often go hand in hand, especially in romantic relationships, and that is love and attachment. So if love, I like to look at love and attachment like a Venn diagram. If love and attachment were a Venn diagram, you'd have love in one circle, attachment in the other, and then the intersection of the two circles would be what I call a glorious mess. And that is pretty much where all of our romantic relationships fall under. It's a mixture of love and attachment. So how do we decipher the two? How do we pick the two apart so we know what is love and what is attachment? So going back to this viewer, and he was talking about jealousy. How can I get over jealousy? How can I love someone when I want her for myself? How can I want her to be free? This is really learning the language of attachment and love. Attachment, it is attachment that feels jealous. Attachment is born from the sense of self, the ego mechanism. And this because the sense of self builds an identity around I, mine. So things are mine, I'm separated from the world, things are mine, you are my lover, you are my partner. And it's this sense of self, this mechanism of ego, that then begins to grasp at things and calling them mine. So that is the language of attachment. It's not love. Love does not feel jealousy. Love does not feel possessiveness. So when we begin to learn the language of attachment and the language of love, we begin to understand that love and freedom, they're actually two sides of the same coin. They go hand in hand. It's attachment that doesn't go very well with freedom, not love. So the language of attachment, let me give you more examples of what attachment, the language of attachment looks like. So the language of attachment will say, you are mine. The language of attachment will say, I feel jealous of you because you're mine. But there are other things. The language of attachment will say something like, do you want to make love to me? Yes, that could be attachment. The language of attachment can say, do you want to mistreat me? Yes. So attachment many times refers to something toxic in your life or within a relationship. The language of love, on the other hand, is completely the opposite. So the language of love can say yes sometimes, but love can say no. So love can say, do you want to make love to me? And love says yes. But look at the difference here. If someone says, would you allow me to mistreat you? Love would say, no, you shall not. That is love. So you see, I'm just giving you some examples of what love looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like, and what attachment looks like. So that's the first part of the question that I wanted to answer, is that we must all learn how to separate, take away attachment from love in order to understand how to live love more freely. The second part of this answer is to help you let go of attachment. So how do I, now that I've started to notice what attachment is and how different it is from love, how do I let go of attachment? And the trick is to let go of the mechanism that kind of bears attachment. So attachment is born from your sense of self, your ego, from your illusion of self, because the self is ultimately an illusion. The idea that you are separate from everybody around you, that you exist kind of on this isolated island and everybody else exists on their own isolated island, separate from each other, it's a mere illusion created in the mind. And it's an illusion that is created out of a sense of lack. So remember, the sense of self and the sense of attachment, they come from a sense of lack. So if you feel attachment, if you are identified very strongly with your sense of self, and the sense of self is basically everything, every thought in your mind that refers to something as mine, I am, you are mine. All of this language comes from your sense or your illusion of the mechanism of self. And the self is always looking for something to latch onto. That's attachment. Because the self, the idea of self as separated from everything else, it's an idea that comes from lack. So if you have lack, if you feel lack, you will constantly look on the outside to attach yourself to something. And that's when we start calling things or people ours. So how do you let go of attachment? You let go of attachment by slowly letting go of the mechanism or the idea of self in the first place. And I love to do that with a mantra that's so much fun. And I'm going to go back to this viewer that sent me this question, and I'm going to give a scenario to this viewer. And I'm going to use this mantra, this letting go of self mantra. So let's suppose you're at a party with the woman that you love, and she's across the room and she's talking to someone. And suppose that the person that she's talking to is attractive. And you look over and immediately you start to feel jealousy. Again, it's the mechanism of attachment and self that feels jealousy, not love. So let's say you begin to feel jealousy, and immediately you can take a deep breath. You're feeling jealousy. You can realize you're feeling jealousy because your sense of self or ego is calling the woman that you love your possession. So you can immediately become conscious of that. And then look at this. Repeat this beautiful mantra that I love to use. You breathe in and you say, nothing is mine. Everything is borrowed. I love this mantra. It really helps letting go of the idea of self and the idea of attachment. And you can use this mantra not just for our lovers. We can use this mantra for everything. We can use this mantra for our cars, for our houses, for our bank accounts, for everything. Just repeat constantly, nothing is mine, everything is borrowed. And if you have any illusion that this is true, or if you think that something is actually ever yours, then just wait, because life has a way of showing us how everything we live in this life is borrowed. Because life can give 1 minute and taketh away the next. So learn to live with this beautiful mantra, nothing is mine, everything is borrowed. Begin to let go of that sense of self. And as you let go of the sense of self, you let go of the mechanism of attachment. As you let go of attachment, you know what love feels like. You begin to understand that love, what pure love is, and how love really is connected to freedom. Now to the third part of the question, and I'm going to bring in another viewer's question, and that is talking about what freedom means. So I had another viewer send me a question also pertaining to love, and she said, what do you talk in your videos a lot about freedom when it pertains to romantic relationships? What does that mean? Are you saying that if I let my partner be free, that I'm suddenly supposed to be okay with him if he cheats on me? So look at where you guys are taking this idea of freedom. So what do I mean by freedom? I'm going to give you some characteristics of freedom. So no, I don't mean that if you allow your partner to be free, that you should put up with your partner cheating on you. That's not what I mean by freedom. Here are some common characteristics of freedom so that you may touch upon it. Freedom, what freedom means is that we stop using the outside world in order to fill any voids in us. So we stop using, I really want you to let this word sink in. We stop using the outside environment in order to fill voids. So when you are imprisoned by yourself, by your own mind, when you are imprisoned, we tend to use the outside world in the form of people, so romantic relationships, things, our money. We tend to use those as flotation devices that we hold on to for dear life because we're afraid of drowning. So freedom means we no longer use anything in our external environment, and this includes the people we love, our material possessions, anything. We don't use anything in our external environment in order to fill voids. Another characteristic of freedom is wholeness. We walk in absolute wholeness. And once you walk in the certainty that you are whole, then you don't use the outside environment. Why? Because you are absolutely whole and complete in who you are. So freedom is wholeness. And another characteristic, the last characteristic of freedom that I want to give you this image so you can touch upon freedom. If freedom means wholeness, then that means that we stop looking at our external environment, we stop looking at our partners or at anything else as a means to get something. Because wholeness, it means that we no longer look for getting things from people or from our external environment. When we look to get something from someone or from something, you know for certain that you are walking from a position of lack, not wholeness. Wholeness says, how can I give? That's what wholeness says. So wholeness is freedom. Freedom says, how may I give? Right? Because I'm whole, so now I'm not asking the question, how may I get anymore? I ask, how may I give? And how these characteristics of freedom, how they are embodied in relationships, it's going to change from me to you to everyone else. Freedom in a relationship may mean that you maintain yourself in a traditional monogamous heterosexual relationship, for instance. That may be what freedom means to you. But freedom can mean that you may also embody an open relationship where you have various partners. Freedom can mean you're in a polyamorous relationship. Freedom can mean you're in a same-sex partnership. I can't tell you what freedom means within your own romantic connections. All I can point you to is to the different characteristics that you can go through in terms of your evolution so that you can better be prepared to embody freedom in love, whatever form it takes in your life. So there you go. I hope that I helped with this question of how you can love and free at the same time. If you have any other questions about this, just shoot me an email. You know where to find me. Shoot me an email at info@christina-lopes.com. Like my Facebook page, watch my videos, check out my other videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope this video helps. I have a feeling that I'm going to be getting more questions about love because that's been coming up a lot. But I hope that this has answered the beautiful question that this viewer sent in. And keep sending me more, people. I love getting your questions. Have a wonderful week, everyone.